We live in a world that teaches us to buy before we think, to spend before we feel, to consume before we question. In The High Price of Materialism, psychologist Tim Kasser exposes the illusion at the core of modern life. We were raised to believe that money, possessions, and status would bring happiness. Yet the more we chase them, the emptier we feel. The system profits when we confuse consumption with purpose. Kasser argues that materialism is not just a cultural habit, but a psychological trap. Every advertisement tells us what we lack, creating a wound that can only be healed by buying something new. But satisfaction fades fast, and emptiness returns stronger. The human mind becomes conditioned to crave without reason. The result is not fulfillment, but fatigue, a silent addiction disguised as ambition. From childhood, we are programmed to measure worth through things. The toys we wanted became gadgets, clothes, and cars. The message never changed, only the price tags. Kasser shows that the more we internalize these values, the less happy we become. Studies reveal that materialistic goals correlate with higher anxiety, depression, and loneliness. The pursuit of possessions steals the soul's energy for connection and creativity. The modern economy thrives on dissatisfaction. Billions are spent not to inform us, but to manipulate emotion. Every commercial whispers that who we are is not enough. The moment we buy into that lie, we enter the loop: earn, spend, envy, repeat. Kasser calls this the treadmill of consumption, a race where the finish line keeps moving. No matter how much you have, you will always need more. Materialism, he explains, hijacks the human value system. It replaces inner purpose with external approval. Instead of asking, "Who am I?" we ask, "What do I own?" The tragedy is that possessions promise identity but deliver emptiness. You can fill your house and still feel homeless inside. The more we seek validation through things, the further we drift from authenticity. Kasser's research reveals that the most materialistic people report less empathy, less trust, and weaker relationships. The reason is simple. When life revolves around things, people become tools or obstacles. The human heart cannot serve two masters: compassion and consumption. Every time you treat others as mirrors for your status, you trade love for illusion. The soul suffocates under the weight of comparison. He argues that consumerism has become a modern religion. Shopping malls are the new temples, brands the new gods, and influencers the new priests. Faith has been replaced by marketing. The sacred has been rebranded as luxury. But despite the glossy promises, our collective anxiety keeps rising. Depression, burnout, and loneliness are not personal failures. They are symptoms of a culture addicted to more. Kasser dismantles the myth that money equals freedom. In truth, materialism breeds dependency. You work longer hours to afford things that cost your time, your energy, and your peace. Each purchase demands another: upgrades, maintenance, insurance. Eventually, you realize you don't own your possessions, they own you. The richest illusion is control, yet consumerism thrives by selling cages that look like comfort. The book challenges the belief that success means accumulation. Real success, Kasser says, lies in alignment, living by values that nurture growth, not greed. The happiest people are not those with the most, but those with enough. They measure wealth in time, creativity, and relationships. They consume consciously, not compulsively. They own things without being owned by them. The psychology behind materialism is rooted in insecurity. When love and belonging are scarce, we substitute with stuff. Objects become armor against vulnerability. But no matter how much you collect, the emptiness persists because the wound was never external. Healing begins when you stop decorating the prison and start walking out of it. Freedom is not found in accumulation, but in awareness. Kasser describes how consumer culture exploits basic human needs for esteem, belonging, and meaning. Ads promise these in physical form, but deliver them only temporarily. It's emotional fast food, quick pleasure, long regret. True fulfillment, he writes, comes from intrinsic goals: growth, relationships, contribution. These are not sold, they are cultivated. You can't buy purpose, you must build it. He reminds us that the economy rewards unhappiness. When you feel insecure, you spend more. When you feel whole, you buy less. That's why the system prefers you anxious, scrolling, comparing, desiring. A peaceful mind is bad for business. Kasser urges us to rebel not through anger, but through mindfulness, to stop feeding the machine by knowing what truly matters. Materialism also distorts our sense of time. We rush through moments chasing the next thing. The present becomes a bridge to the next purchase. But life happens in the now, not in the checkout line. When you learn to pause, to breathe, to savor simplicity, the spell breaks. The world regains color when you stop seeing it as a catalog. He contrasts extrinsic and intrinsic motivation. Extrinsic values, wealth, image, fame, depend on external validation. Intrinsic values, growth, love, contribution, generate self-worth from within. The more you feed one, the more the other starves. Choose wisely what grows inside you. Inner peace cannot coexist with constant comparison. Kasser's studies show that entire nations grow richer without growing happier. Economic progress without emotional progress is regression. We built a world that produces goods faster than meaning. We replaced relationships with transactions, silence with screens, community with consumption, but no civilization can sustain itself on emptiness. The more we ignore this truth, the more we pay with our souls. He doesn't preach poverty, but consciousness. The goal is not to reject comfort, but to reclaim control. Minimalism is not about owning nothing, it's about nothing owning you. When you align spending with your values, every purchase becomes intentional. You stop chasing dopamine and start cultivating gratitude. Wealth then becomes a tool for freedom, not a symptom of fear. One of his key lessons is to redefine success as contribution. A life of service, art, and connection enriches you beyond measure. The joy of giving outweighs the thrill of getting. When you use your energy to uplift others, consumption loses its hold. Generosity is the highest form of wealth because it multiplies rather than depletes. Kasser emphasizes that happiness is not found in escaping discomfort, but embracing authenticity. The constant pursuit of pleasure leaves no space for presence. Real contentment is quiet, steady, and deep. It comes from living aligned with what you value most. When you stop performing and start being, peace returns naturally. He invites us to measure life not by possessions, but by purpose. Count memories, not followers. Celebrate simplicity, not status. The richest people are those who can sit in silence without craving distraction. When you detach from what you own, you reconnect with who you are. Freedom begins where comparison ends. Consumerism also shapes our environment. The more we buy, the more we waste, the more we deplete. The planet itself has become a mirror of our internal greed. Exhausted, polluted, overstimulated. Healing the earth begins with healing our desires. Sustainability is not a trend. It's self-respect on a global scale. Kasser's conclusion is both sobering and hopeful. The system may be powerful, but awareness is stronger. Every time you choose mindfulness over impulse, gratitude over greed, you reclaim a piece of your humanity. Society changes one conscious individual at a time. Revolution starts not in protests, but in presence. He warns that escaping materialism requires daily vigilance. The ads will keep whispering, the influencers will keep selling, the cycle will keep spinning. But you can step out of it. You can choose to live intentionally. Each mindful choice is an act of rebellion. Each breath of gratitude is resistance against the machinery of more. In the end, the high price of materialism reminds us that money is not the problem. Meaninglessness is. The cost of consumerism is not financial, but spiritual. It steals our peace, our purpose, and our capacity for wonder. The antidote is awareness. To see through the illusion, to spend consciously, and to live deliberately. Kasser leaves us with a question that cuts through the noise. What are you buying when you buy? If the answer isn't peace, joy, or love, the price is too high. Freedom begins when you realize you have enough. Because the wealth you seek was never in the store. It was always in your soul.